Welcome to the Redeemed Vision podcast, where we bring sight to the blind and freedom to those enslaved by our pornified culture. Here, we dive into hard but important topics such as pornography, sexual identity, true freedom, real love, and living marriage well. Go deep with us as we uncover what redeemed vision means for each of us living in the world today. Come to know yourself, the power of redemption through Jesus Christ, the joy of laughter, and how to live in gratitude and wonder. This is Redeemed Vision.
I'd like to welcome all of you to another edition of the Redeemed Vision podcast. I'm your host, Steve Pokorny. Boys and girls of all ages, gentlemen and ladies, buckle up. We have a really great treat for you today. A couple just points to put us all on the same page. Encourage all of you who are listening to this or watching this to like, subscribe. Please spread the word. What we're sharing on this podcast is what the world really needs. It's what we believe here. And obviously, the Redeemed Vision podcast is an outreach of Freedom Coaching. You can find our work at freedom-coaching.net. Since we had our last podcast here, we have been blessed to start a foundation, the Freedom Coaching Foundation. It's a 501c3. That means any donations that are made are tax deductible. And what this does, it helps us to cover some of the costs for scholarships for clients who may not be able to cover the whole cost, because we as coaches, we like to eat, we like to sleep with roofs and things like that. It also helps with any advertising, things like this, to get the word out of how important projects like this really are. So if it's on your heart, take it to prayer. If God is calling you to, so take some of your tithe to support a worthy organization, that we humbly throw our hat into that ring, and we'd be so honored to receive that. I was recently also honored to be a guest on Jason Everett's podcast, Lust is Boring. We had a very solid, brief conversation about the work we're doing at Freedom Coaching. And I encourage you to go over to that channel for the Chastity Project, check out the work they're doing. And if you're listening through that, at the end of that podcast, I tell about a little code there that if you or a loved one you know who's dealing with an attachment to pornography, is looking for freedom, Freedom Coaching can really be an answer. And put that code on the application, and we're going to give you the first meeting free. So it's one of the ways in which we can give back. And then most personally, we've been blessed to move into a new home over the past few months. We've gone a little bit agrarian. I've gone full out, and we've gotten some chickens. We're always looking. I never in my wildest fantasy would think that I would be going to deal with chickens. We have 8 beautiful sexlet hens. I still can't pronounce them. They're beautiful. And one of my recent miracles, just yesterday, they produced 6 eggs. Okay, so it's growing. Thoroughly thankful for this. So what miracles are going on in your life? That's what I encourage you to do. Post your comment below. And as you share this podcast, post your little thing of what your miracle is, because life is truly a gift. It is all a miracle. So today, from that perspective, I want to dive in, and at the Redeemed Vision podcast, right, we want to help people to see the world in a different way than a lot of people are seeing it. We believe a lot of people are blind and they need to wake up. And we want to see the world ultimately through God's eyes. So our topic today is about a 4-letter word. No, not that 4-letter word. Another 4-letter word that most people seem to have an opinion about, but may not have a handle on it, as the dearly departed Freddie Mercury once said, a crazy little thing called love. I got to get a handle on this thing. And by the way, side note, at my wife and I, at our wedding reception, Michael Bublé's version of that song, that was our wedding dance. So it was beautiful. So today, what we want to do is we want to talk about love, everything that's connected to love, which is pretty much everything. And I'm a baby in this business of love, okay? So I want to bring on a master, a guru, shall we say, of love, maybe not in the way that you would think of this, right? To go deep into the subject of love, and especially and specifically this subject of living a redeemed love, right? This notion that, and this is one of the things we say here, nothing is wasted, everything's redeemable. So our guest today, a very special guest, which I'm very excited to have on the podcast, is the one and only unrepeatable Damon Owens. And some of you are going to be, probably most of you, familiar with who this is. But if you've been living in a cave somewhere, here's a little bit about Damon. Damon grew up blessed among women with 2 sisters, grew up in New Jersey. He's way smarter than me. He's an Eagle Scout. He's got degrees in mechanical engineering from Brown and Berkeley. It's amazing he's still Catholic, and has been involved with a lot of technology firms before he went on, and God got a hold of him, done a major shift, and where so much of his work for at least the last 20 years has been working in marriage directly. And so he's published in numerous articles, lots of publications, radio interviews, and things like that. Been blessed to produce a 13-part series with EWTN, and he's also this also was very interesting to me, and I'm totally going to talk to him about this. An accomplished gospel singer. He was honored to sing at the 1995 New Jersey Papal Mass at Giants Stadium, which was presided by the one and only St. John Paul II. So he is known as the first executive director of the Theology of the Body Institute, which is doing beautiful and wonderful work. They've trained over 20,000 couples in marriage, natural family planning, and theology of the body with he and his wife, Melanie. And they were the delegates at the 2022 and 2015 World Meetings of Families. And World Meeting of Families, and in 2017, the USCB Convocation for Catholic Leaders, and has been doing such great work in this, and a great honor that Damon received. Damon received the papal Benemerenti, I think I pronounced it right. Okay, I nailed it right. Medal for service to the church and support for marriage and family. So Damon, this is not a comment on your weight. He is not a lightweight though. In this, he's got a lot to offer. But his biggest claim to fame, most important claim to fame, is that he and his wife, Melanie, have been married, I believe, over 30 years. I think I got that right. They've got 8 children, I think 3 grandchildren. You may have to update your bio here, buddy. And they live outside of Philadelphia. So without any further wait, Damon Owens, welcome to the Redeemed Vision podcast.
Thank you, my friend. First of all, thank you for making what usually sounds like an obituary and actually like an introduction. So thank you. It's great to be with you, bro.
You're welcome. Dude, it's an honor to be you. And Damon, I've known you for several years, spanning back over a decade.
You're being modest again. 2000, that's like 16 years. Wow. Man. Do the math.
Oh my gosh.
Do the math.
I'm trying to help us not be as old as we.
It's too late. I'm granddad. It's too late. I'm
yes,
granddad.
you are.
I'm on
congratulations on that.
You.
I'm your granddad for the 3rd time. Is that right? Do I have that
You're
correct?
Speaking prophecy. It's 2, but I'll wait for the 3rd. My daughter just gave birth to her 2nd, and yeah, and I'm loving it. I went full embrace. I'm not pop. I'm not Poppy. I'm not Duke. My name is Granddad. So.
Not the Duke of Owens. I love it. So and I'm going to come back to that one, but I gotta know. So and I never knew that your background as like formal trained gospel singer. Am I getting that right?
Well, actually, honestly, the music was the first dream. I never dreamed growing up, even in engineering school, of being a speaker. I never thought I had anything to talk about. It was all about music, and you couldn't have told me otherwise. And in the 80s, I was Michael Jackson. And I had music was everything. So I actually had a conversion, which is part of our story, reversion back to the faith. So then the music piece to gospel was really for about 10 years after that. So
okay, can you throw me a bone? Can I hear some of those lovely notes? Come on?
You talking about the crazy little thing called love? I mean, first of all, it's not gospel, but there's some gospel and truth in that, right? But I sang for John Paul II. Oh my gosh, what was it? Now you my memory. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. Then you can imagine the 300-member choir coming behind you. So It was a glorious day, 1995. In fact, it's the anniversary. It was October.
Really?
It was in October. Well, I don't know when we're going to air here. I
15th.
don't want to out you, but it basically was October of 22. I'm 22 now. October of 1995. So we're looking at an anniversary of it. Just was a wonderful day with the closest I ever got to St. John Paul II. So
wow, beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, tip your waitresses. He'll be here all night, and he's available for concerts and bar mitzvahs. So he's good to go. So wonderful. What a gift, and that experience of beauty really raptured you, and that's one of the things that has touched me, and one of the things we teach, especially in freedom coaching, is there's no defense against beauty. We can't.
There it is. There it is.
Really, nobody looks at the sunset and like, okay, I've had enough. You can turn it off now.
Exactly. It melts the coldest hearts. It shatters the hardest hearts of stone, and all the poetry you can want. But what I love about beauty is that it's the aesthetic that breaks the anesthesia. Right? It's that dullness to what is good, true, and beautiful. When you experience, you just go, oh, that's it. You don't even want to defend against it. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I want to shift on that point to topic. This connected with beauty is love, right? This idea of love, in a certain sense, for us as Catholics and Christians, it should be everything. Right. So let's take a deep dive. And again, I'm going to give you lots of latitude on this. How would you say that your understanding of love has shifted over the years?
Ooh, good entry point. I think like everyone, I think it's a human thing, honestly, that it's something you experience, a reality that's experienced, right? And then as we think we mature and we grow, we try to put words to it. We try to put patterns to it. We try to think about the expectations of what it means to our life and the importance and all of that. So for me, the experience was the first thing. For me, it was very much the experience of being loved. My mom, who passed away this year, Alzheimer's, was a very tender, very affectionate, very present, very encouraging mom, especially for a middle boy. And my dad was very, and still is, very demanding. He's the excellence guy. He's he grew up in the South, North Carolina, during segregation. So I grew up, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 80s with him as, you got to be twice as good to get half as much. So that's like baked into me. So love to me is sort of that combination of the attentiveness, the affection, the presence, but also the demands, sometimes radical demands, sometimes painful demands. And I'm not talking about a perfection here. Both my parents are human and flawed, but love to me was that experience of belonging to someone. And later on, as I left the faith, not intentionally, but really just being distracted, and as you mentioned, Brown and Berkeley, the singing, the accolades, the girls, all of that stuff was very, very distracting and attracting. But in meeting Melanie at Berkeley, we both had a major reversion back to the faith. And I think there is where love really came to, I already thought I was way smarter than I actually was, but trying to connect the truth about love with all of those experiences. What is love? Because it can't be just what I feel. It can't just be what it delights me. But I've had so much of that delight with beautiful women and with, illicit sex and with, praise of, accolades of being on things. Oh, love. But it's not, it comes and it goes and it never satisfies. And yet that love can't be compared to the love of my mother, the love of my dad, of belonging to someone. And then now with Melanie, belonging to someone that we weren't related, and I think, to be honest, underlying all of that was the faith that my family practiced, that Jesus was always part of the conversation. You can't give somebody a relationship with Christ, right? But you can make witness to it in a natural way. And there was a naturalness to my dad's conversion from AME Zion, African Methodist Episcopal, to Catholic. My mother's generations Catholic. That was sort of the underlying in that search as well. So longer answer, but I think it's experience And then as we mature, trying to put order to that and meaning to it. And thankfully, I had that foundation of faith that took me to the perfect understanding, which is really in our Catholic faith.
Awesome. It's beautifully said and elucidated here. And so there's a lot of people who are, I'm sure, listening to this thinking, like, Damon struggled, but Damon's come to a place and experienced profound love here. I'm not there. I haven't made it that way, right? And I think part of that is the confusion of our culture. How would you articulate that confusion over love in our culture?
Yeah, I would be precise in the language. First of all, there were years I didn't struggle. I just fell. There were times I just walked away. I turned away. I was distracted. Yeah, and not even in despair. It was like, oh, there's something better over there. There's something better if I do this. And I try. Well, I believe in God. I never not believed in God. It was never a disbelief. Thank God. I know people who struggle with that, and I honor that. Mine was never a struggle about the truth about who God is. So the confusion now, the struggle, in an authentic way, is really taking on what's a contradiction. To me, struggle is about wrestling with contradiction. That God is all loving, all true, all powerful, all knowing, and that we're his sons and daughters, and yet I don't always desire, recognize, or understand God. So there's like a conflict between, it's not always delightful, but if he's love, how come this love over here is actually delightful right now? So that's what I mean, the struggle. The struggle is that brokenness that we, as you and I have talked about often, the disintegration, this fractured reality of passion, of the will to do and to choose and to do the good, the intellect to know what's good, true, and beautiful. Back to that, and then the acts, the experience. That's part of who we are, and everything is sort of fractured. This is man in the fall, and the struggle really is about finally saying, I am fractured. And I take on the work of trying to become whole, of letting God make me whole. And there's the healing piece. So that's why I say I didn't struggle all of that time. Many times the struggle was not until I had the courage to do it.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying the early part of the testimony is just that I never stopped looking for the good and the true and the beautiful. I never stopped looking for love. I just was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Looking for love in all the wrong faces, right? Please don't turn off the podcast, please. So we have this longing, if I'm hearing correctly, right? This longing, this yearning for love. Sometimes we get it really, really wrong, right? And you kind of, in a certain sense, kind of just went with whatever. What was there? And here's the reality: we believe that love is a gift. Okay, that this is the fullness of it. We come from gift to live in gift to go back to gift, right? And when we don't experience it like that, we're going to experience heartbreak and heartache. So, Damon, if you're willing to go here, can you pinpoint where have you experienced, or how would you articulate heartbreak or even heartache in your relationships, and then from there, what's helped you to heal from those experiences?
Yeah. God willing, I want to be open about this. I think it's clearly in every relationship. I think if I was really honest, I would say, and I want to be, that the first real heartbreak for me was with my dad, because as much as he was my hero and wanted to be my hero, for much of my childhood, he was an alcoholic, an active alcoholic. And praise God, he's been in recovery for 35 years, 30 some odd years. So this isn't a current reality. And he'll say, I'm recovering alcoholic. So it's not a scandal. But as a kid, the responses and the lack of love, the lack of attention, just the horrors of being a child of an alcoholic really fractured me early on, in the sense of knowing that, as much as I'm deserved to be loved and I'm supposed to be loved, it's not perfect. And that probably moved into romantic relationships, whether they were, in school or in college, or in a very serious relationship, a relationship in college before I met Melanie. And that disappointment, like it just took so much effort. And I think that for me, it manifests because of my personality and my temperament as this earned love. And I've been exhausted from so many decades, Steve, so many decades with this burning, and it's so deep. It's not at the surface, it's deep, that I've got to work to make sure that people love me. And I've got to not disappoint people. I've got to meet everyone and exceed everyone's expectations. So I'm a hoot overachiever. You mentioned the Eagle Scout earlier. You mentioned, the Ivy League schools. I mean, all those things are great accomplishments, and I don't discount them. But the duress, the expectations that I put on myself, that I had to do those things in order to be loved, it's demonic. In that that performative love really kept me from experiencing people, present moments, of not being able to deal with the disappointments of heartbreak, and of really expecting more of myself and more of others. So I don't know if you wanted to go that deep, but
yeah, no, let me, if you'll permit me, I want to push into this, and this isn't, I'm not psychologizing or anything like that, but I would assume there was a level of a mask going on there.
Oh,
right?
yes.
A shell, or even like if you think of the first Daniel Craig Bond movie, where he says to a girl he's getting involved with, like, I've removed my armor. But we oftentimes, and it seems like you were playing that as well, your armor was up and had to, or it appeared it had to be up there, right? What was that doing to you emotionally inside that armor?
Well, I mean, in one sense, and I love that scene with Bond and Vespa, right? When he says that, I take all my armor off, let go, let me go. That moved me, probably because of what we're talking about. It was so personal. I think it's because, it, again, not psychologizing too much either. I think there was an arresting going on. I think it arrested me as a little boy. And there's a little boy in there who always wanted to get attention, who always wanted to do good, who always wanted to be the one that didn't cause problems, but because he was there, everything is better. And therefore you'll like me, and everything will be okay. And, the psychologist, I'm sure, would tie that to being a son of an alcoholic, but also temperament, being very much of an extrovert, very much of a, charismatic, just in terms of temperament. But, the inversion of that is this certainty, and the narrative of the certainty of the narrative, that I have to earn people's love and respect. And as soon as I let go, everything will collapse. And it's not so much that you'll know the real me, which is sort of secondary. It's that whatever happens, it happened because I was lazy, I was inattentive, I failed, and all the stuff that, when I crossed the 50-year-old mark, I'm like, this little boy has got to grow up. And I listened to decades of my own wife, Melanie, being like, well, how did you get that from that? And I'm like, well, obviously, if I don't do that, it's not going to be the best. Somebody else is going to do it.
I've engineered it properly, woman. I have 2 degrees on this.
Trust me, I got degrees in engineering. I can fix this. That is the joke that is like 80-20 serious to joke, because that's the whole narrative. So when it comes to relationships, there's nothing like marriage. There's nothing like fatherhood to shatter these little boys trying to be husband, a little boy trying to be a father, because little boys can't love authentically, can't make the gift that you rightly describe love as, because you can't give what you don't have, and you can't have what you don't know. So that self-knowledge leads to the virtue of self-mastery, and the self-mastery, the possession, allows us to make the self-gift. So that's a whole nother talk, but it's related to affective maturity and the stuff that you do so well with Redeemed Vision podcast, and also with the Freedom Coaching.
Thank you so much for that. And I will receive that. And I would say, the other thing, I feel, as you're speaking this, the sheer exhaustion of trying to keep this up. And I was there for years. There's still moments that I'll still do it. There's a reason I'm a freedom coach and not a marriage coach, right? I need to learn much from you, right? There's things in which, and I think it happens in everyone's situation who gets into intimate relationships. I'm not just talking marital relationships, but anytime we approach letting somebody see me, that I'm gonna let the veneer down. I'm gonna take off my armor. I'm gonna rest here, and let you peer into my world really in there. And oh God, help me. I'm terrified here.
Yeah.
Because the fear of utter rejection.
Yeah. So
Right.
if we can open that, it's not even that simple. This hasn't been for me, right? So the romantic in me, the courageous one, all you have to do is tell me that's a courageous act and I will do it. That's not the problem for me, laying down the armor and being present to Melanie, being present to my daughters. I'll do that in a heartbeat because I know it's true and it takes courage. But the deeper problem is I don't reject the narrative. So I'll take the armor off for you. I'll take the armor for you for now, but there's still something in me that I'm not willing to put the armor away, to live and walk outside naked, to walk outside unprotected, to do, to literally put it away and live differently, to be really redeemed, right? To be free. That's, to me, is the deeper one. I can take the armor off in front of people in a heartbeat. Sometimes it's, it can be inauthentic and I've got to check my heart, but even authentically, I can do that. And I can do it for the moment, but then I will reach back for that armor when it's time to go outside and to provide and to present, because I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to end up at the end. This is the worst part. Like the little mouse that ends up looks like a dragon, is that if I don't go out with the armor, I'm going to get punked. I'm going to get hurt. Something's going to happen to me really bad that if I was paying attention, I could have prevented. So don't get punked and stay alert, stay up. And you talk about the word you write was right. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
It is. And so to those who are hearing this, right, I can almost hear an echo to some people who have tried to struggle with these questions and experience, trying to find love. Maybe you're a single person or your marriage hasn't worked out the way you want to, whether it's divorce or whether you're in marriage and it's a living hell. That's what it feels like. And so, Damon, this is one of your areas that you've grown to be. And that's why I say it lovingly, if it's not an appropriate term, whatever. A love guru, a guru of marriage, whatever. I mean, you're still learning. I get that, right? But could you offer to kind of get into the how a little bit for those who are looking, who've experienced heartache and heartbreak, or maybe currently they're living it right now. One or two nuggets that they can begin down that path towards healing, towards maybe letting that armor down. How?
Yeah. So in full transparency, what really has been the heart of this work has been almost two polarities. One of them being the very personal struggle and growth in my own marriage with Melanie. We love each other so much. It's always been so passionate, and we're so different. She's the radical introvert, one-on-one, present, quiet, just sit with me. Let's grow old together. And I am let's go do. Let me clean your car. Let me do this. Let me, let's have a party. Let's bring people over. I mean, it's a classic engineer and social worker. I mean, it's odd couple, but beautifully complementary. And the wounds that we've incurred on each other, with the way we've hurt each other, always unintentionally. Always in defense, always thinking that we're under attack, so we've got to, protect ourselves that way. So when I get to real practical questions, it's the combination of that with literally the decades of, the guy that comes in at 10,000 feet and teaches about love, marriage, sex, theology of the body, intimacy, and the principles at the high level. So there's many ways it's like the personal and the universal that fills the work we do now in Joyful Ever After. So the very practical questions and points that I would suggest for people have to do with what our friend Christopher West calls the homework of the heart, and to do that hard work of the I before the work of the thou or the other. And 9 times out of 10, the descriptions come in like we're doing this week in some of our email campaigns, hundreds. We're almost 400 heartfelt, heartbreaking testimonies of marriages where people who are so hurt, and for decades. We were married 38 years. We're married 31 years. We're married 26 years. We're married this 8 kids. I mean, the stories are, you're like, wait a minute, you would never fit this. And to the one, it's my husband doesn't, my wife won't. And we have this tendency, because I've done it for decades, almost 30 years of marriage, right? is that the problem is there, that if you did this, then everything would be in sync because my intentions are right, even though I don't get it right all the time. You should know that and give me the mercy to accept that. But what do I get? I get this from you. So if you just stop doing this, then everything would be fine. And that's sort of the myopic view that we all have in relationships. So first would be that homework of the heart that says we need to not only give ourselves the mercy in our own weakness, our sin, our brokenness that God gives us, but then learn to extend that to the one that we've taken the armor off to my case, Melanie, that a charitable interpretation, as Dr. Greg Popchak speaks about in his marriage work, charitable interpretation, that even when she barks at me, when I know for a fact that this is an accusation, she's never accusing me. She isn't. It's intellectually, emotionally, it's an accusation. So the charitable interpretation is, oh, how hurt could she be that she would lash out at me like this because she loves me so much? And that's not a mind game. That's actually looking at it through her eyes to me. So charitable interpretation is sort of that exercise. And there's a bunch of exercises that we teach here, but it's about learning to not only express yourself to be interpreted charitably, which you control, but also to recognize what we don't control in the other, and to allow charitable interpretation to rest not in the moment of the hurt and the accusation and the pain, but the charitable interpretation to rest on what you remember in the calm times when the temperature is low, what you premised at the altar, that you know in your head, she loves you, he loves you. And he must really be hurting to treat you this way. And the second sort of suggestion is learning a whole new vocabulary. And I know this sounds very soft, especially coming from an engineer and a man, but a whole new vocabulary. And I mean hundreds of new words that describe emotions. That's been liberating. It still is liberating for me. There's almost a wheel, when you say angry, the wheel goes out into 30 different words that even the exercise of finding that right word, it's liberating. It works to this day. I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's not the anger as much as it's a frustration that this and this, an embellishment. So that's the technique we took from Smart Loving, the Parolas, Byron and Francine Parola out of Australia, called the life technique, right? Of listening, but then using I feel with embellishments, LIFE. And that exercise is again, a very practical, very concrete way to move out of the realm of actions. You did this to me. I did this to you. That didn't really happen. You said this, but that's not what happened. The fact checker, to the emotional connection that says, wow, you must really be hurting. And to mean that, how I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I made you feel this way. How can I make it better? And that's a fast track. It's a very slow burn, to connect that way. So homework of the heart and learning to communicate on that emotional level, that'll do wonders in every relationship, in particular marriage.
So I want to blow this up. My mind's going a million miles a minute. I'm like, okay, how can I implement them in my own marriage? Like I know in my own marriage I struggle. We struggle mightily and trying to figure this thing out, because we're taking, and the old phrase goes, right? Take one sinful human being and another sinful human being, a man and a woman who those are irreconcilable concepts.
Thank God.
Thank God that I am not a woman, and I don't want to be one. But I do know what one is, Matt Walsh. So within this whole thing, that's a whole nother side note. We won't go there right now. But like that whole notion, just go work it out. It's insanity. And this is where the beauty of our faith comes in. This is where the beauty of the sacrament of marriage comes in, where you take two very broken men and women, and sometimes really remarkably broken. And this isn't to say you shouldn't work on this stuff before marriage. Hope to God you do. But maybe we didn't, right? If we're committed to the cross, if we're committed to sacrificing, to serving one another more here, the possibility for grace and what we started this podcast with, miracles. We will see miracles that will happen here, right? And again, there's a ton to unpack there, and that's why, and I didn't even say this in your bio, right? I encourage everyone, check out joyfuleverafter.org, right? There's a wealth of information, and you stole my one of my questions or comments. I was going to say the email list, the email series here. A lot of times there's Like we're trying to sell a program, things like that. You want to make money because you want to support your family. That's a beautiful thing, right? But this is not just selling a program. This is literally that those 400 plus couples that are or individuals from their marriage, the real stuff's in there. I'm getting such nuggets from what's shared in there. So I want to say first and foremost, thank you, Damon, for allowing your yes to be manifested to the world in this ministry that you're doing. Really, really important. So to recap those two from we hear, right? First, take that charitable interpretation. And if you're not married, by the way, this works with anybody, right?
This is human affective maturity. This is human formation.
Huge, absolutely. Like a person, I'm getting my $11 cup of coffee. It's at an expensive barista place, which I'm not going to name. And they say or they look at me the wrong way. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they have a shifty eye. I don't know, right? Can we see them as a human person? Can we see them with our heart and love them? That's what this redeemed vision is all about, right? And especially in our marriage. I mean, one of the things I love to share is, always fight with one another, not against one another, right? You're on the same team. There may have been some significant wounds that might have built up over many, many years, maybe decades, things we never really talked about. Maybe we didn't do the homework of the heart. Now is the day of redemption. Now is the day of salvation. Today. It's day zero. Enter into that, right? And then that second piece there, Damon, the thing about emotions, this is what we see all the time with clients, right? We work with a vast majority of more men than women, but an increasing number of women who are dealing with an attachment to pornography or unchaste behavior. And many of them are engineers, doctors, right? They're really smart people, okay? Left brain. But right brain, pardon my French, they're really dumb. Okay, they're dumb emotionally, okay? They never really learned how to do that. So we like to say as you're going through this process, they're going to gain about 100 IQ points on the emotional scale, on the emotional IQ. Same thing here, right? Because what the emotions do, and I'd love to hear more of your commentary on what you've seen happen in your own marriage or those that you've been able to work with, it creates the empathy. And I would say after courage, empathy is the number 2 virtue we need more of. And I think it's been stripped out from us in many facets, many angles of culture. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, good. Like you, my mind's swimming here. So yeah, and if we had to on the spot put a priority, I would say humility is probably the greatest virtue, courage, and then empathy, because all those are prerequisites to love. Yeah. And the humility is taking someone with degrees, success, affirmation, fulfillment in one particular area of their life, whether it's professional or otherwise, and saying, you need to start here in kindergarten when it comes to emotional school. And the humility says, I will sit in this awkward chair with all these, people, and I will learn what I should have learned in kindergarten.
Billy Madison, baby.
It's Billy Madison. And look, but isn't that what marriage is? How many times have you felt like that in marriage, Steve, where you're like, I'm a grown man and I'm being talked to and listening like I'm an idiot. And, I'm not an idiot. So don't treat me like an idiot. And then we go to the whole narrative of defending ourselves. But that's the lack of humility that says, you know what, I need to learn this, because not only am I hurting you, I'm hurting myself and I'm hurting everyone around me. So that barista you mentioned, it's not just being empathetic because it's a good thing to do, a nice thing to do. Your redeemed vision, using your phrasing, allows you to not only see the world differently, but to encounter and experience. It's a different phenomena. It's a different phenomenology. So we will act differently. We will respond differently. The road rage, the injustice, and it's not just Karens. There's a name for every group of people who feel like the world is unjust and I've got to get mine. I get that all the time. But it's because we've allowed the world to be seen through a lens that's about my comfort. It's about making sure I don't experience injustice. It's about getting mine and not getting, clowned by a person or the culture. But when you can enter into someone else, there's 2 options there. And this is where I learned literally, in the last year with our experts in epic intimacy, that's one of our programs, the difference between empathy and sympathy. And for me, it was a necessary distinction, because it's more than just feeling what someone else is feeling, which is a huge first step to be able to see through their eyes. But the difference between sympathy and empathy is, what do you do with that affirmation? Sympathy takes what they're feeling and becomes yours, and you say, oh, I felt like that. I understand what you're feeling like, because I was like that. In fact, let me tell you the time when it happened. Sympathy is about us, right? Empathy takes that same ability to see and experience what the other is experiencing, but to now put it into a you experience. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. That must be awful. And there's a distinctive power difference when it comes to building intimacy in friendship, in any relationship, when you can affirm to this other that not only do you understand what they're experiencing, but you care that they're experiencing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh gosh, yes. Oh,
So,
it totally is.
This is not something I could have spoken about a year ago, but the distinction, I was like, oh, that's why you feel patronized when somebody says, oh, I felt the same way. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're like,
I think also why, if we take merely a sympathetic view on this, it's off-putting, because now, like most of the things in the culture, right, it's all about you again. It's all about like it's all about me. Like me,
it's almost worse. In some cases, almost worse, because you're saying like simpatico, like we're the same, we're on the same level. You actually see what I'm doing, and you still don't care. It's still about you. So it's almost worse. Like, oh, you never get me. We're missing each other. Not on the same page, not on the same book. But now I see that you understand what I'm feeling, and you still don't care about me. So it can actually be worse.
So what would you say then? Humility is a big one. Humility is acknowledging who we are on the side of God. It's not groveling as a lot of people. It's acknowledging who we are. So once we take that humble approach regarding empathy, what's the next step then? What do you think?
The empathy is an act of love, right? An active initiative love. Because when I look at humility and even maybe skipping courage, maybe a little bit of courage to enter into another, and empathy, it's about this receptivity. Right, you're receiving the other as they are, and that's the first step in love. Right. And that posture of receptivity then calls for a gift to be initiated. Then you make a gift, right? So, and that allows the communion, the gift received and the gift responded to. So it's this communion of love, this communio, this common union that's received and then given. And sort of the inverse is that even the most passionate and attentive Christians who want to love first begin with the initiative. Let me make this gift. Let me do this, especially men. I'm speaking as a man, right? When the first posture is always receptivity. It's like, we love because God has first loved us. I respond to you because I see you, and I love you, and I want you to know that. So love is first received before it's given. But the other piece is that I'm sure you've heard the expression, hurt people hurt people. Everybody kind of knows that one, right? It's true. Yeah. Hurt people hurt people. But the inverse is true. Loved people love people. So when you've received this love, you can't help but reciprocate. You can't help but make the gift. And that barista is not one of sympathy, like, oh, you're having a bad day. Hope it gets better. I see you're having, it's the look. Sometimes just even a look, and you'd be like, thank you. And she's like,
amen. And I would add to all of this, beautiful. And I would add to that piece of that receptivity is the number one reason why St. Paul says love is patience. It's patient. It's number one on the list. Why? Because you must allow the other to be other. And I think this is one of the struggles that we find sometimes in intimate relationships and marriage is we want to control. And maybe it goes back to the armor place. Because if I allow this freedom, maybe because I've been hurt by my parents or you've hurt me and one too many times, and I'm not going to let you do it again. But the way forward is we've got to have this humble trust that, there's been hurting here, but I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to have patience and take that perspective again, that charitable interpretation, as you had said.
I love that. I love it. And, I'm going to throw this out. Just as you said that, I got this image with St. Paul of just the question. Patience answers the question about love's relationship with time? So what's love's relationship with time? Receiving another, making that gift, willing the good of one another. What's love's relationship with time? And it goes to the chronos, if you heard that phrase before, which is the tick-tock of time passing in minutes and hours, chronos, or the kairos, which is experiential. It's something that's outside of the sun and the moon. It has to do with God's progression toward holiness. And St. Paul saying, love is patient. He's saying in the realm of time, in this relationship, we can't rush it. We can't measure it by how quickly it occurs or how slowly it occurs, how much time it's going to take. But as how is it moving us in that kairos, toward real intimacy, toward real wholeness and holiness? That's just forgive me for riffing for live.
No, this is why we do this podcast. We want to enter deeply in there, and we've just got a minute or two on this section, and I want to move to something a little more fun that some of our listeners are familiar with. This Joyful Ever After. I assume that's the best place that people can get in touch with you, get to know a little bit more of your work. Is that correct?
Yeah, in Epic Intimacy, we have two major offerings now as we're moving into shortly the individual coaching and group coaching. It's Epic Intimacy, emotional, physical, intellectual, communicative, Epic Intimacy. And we've got individual modules and collections along there. And our Catholic Marriage Summit, which really is a growing collection of witnesses, actual couples. So those are the two big offerings at joyfuleverafter.org, joyfuleverafter.org.
Wonderful, Damon. And just to put a little bow, again, we can go on this forever. This is what heaven is about: is growing even more into love, right? Being authentically healed and whole, so that we can enter in full union with our bridegroom in eternity, Jesus Christ, right? Amen. And I want to leave this just to the listeners. One of my favorite quotes from Pope Benedict, and he said this back in 2007. Everybody feels the longing to love and to be loved, yet how difficult it is to love, and how many mistakes and failures have to be reckoned with in love. There are those who even come to doubt that love is possible. But if emotional delusions or lack of affection can cause us to think that love is utopian, an impossible dream, should we then become resigned? No, love is possible. And the purpose of my message, and shall we say Damon's and my own and us here at Freedom Coaching and the Redeemed Vision podcast, is to help reawaken in each one of you, you who are the future and hope of humanity. This is written to youth, but it's for all of us because we are the future of humanity now. Trust in a love that is true, faithful, and strong. A love that generates peace and joy. A love that binds people together and allows them to feel free and respect for one another.
I love that, man. You want to call him the Rottweiler, but he's the German. He was the German Shepherd, is what he was.
I would call him the German Labrador, dude. He just wants to come up and let you play.
I love that.
Right?
Was that Deus Caritas Est? Was that God is love? Where was that from?
No, that's Deus Caritas Est is too. That's God is love for those who are familiar. And if you have not read the beautiful teachings in the church, what the church actually teaches, please pick a document, run with it. Okay, run in the work of St. John Paul II, Pope Benedict. Beautiful stuff there. Deus Caritas Est was 2005. This is 2007. This is World Youth Day, 2007. Wow. So it's the opening lines of I thought it was the ending. It's the opening lines of this. And so beautiful, really profound. So going to something completely different. I have this cup that was given by my daughters. So this isn't necessarily a dad joke, but I want to, for those who are listening to the podcast, it says I have a coffee cup that says "Ask me about my dad jokes," given to me on Father's Day. So you're an engineer, maybe you've heard this one, maybe not. So there's 3 engineers. They're hanging out at a bar, and they're talking about a lot of topics, and then the topic gets to talking about God, and then they start thinking about, if God were an engineer, what kind of engineer would he be? And they settled on this kind of, okay, how are we gonna come up with this? And they settled on a topic about the body. Okay, you ever heard this one?
No.
Okay, so you can totally use this. This is great. So the electrical engineer said, "Oh, come on, he'd be an electrical engineer, obviously. I mean, look at how the synapses fire, and it's immediate from one end to the end, getting things going." And the mechanical engineer, he chimes in, says, are you crazy? Look at the way which the body is formed and mechanics just work beautifully. I mean, it's a symphony. And the civil engineer, he's sitting back, sipping his beer, listening to them, kind of blowing hard. He said, listen, guys, he's a civil engineer. You know why? Because what kind of guy puts a waste treatment facility right next to a perfectly good recreation facility?
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right, Dad.
So there you go, Dad. So anyway, points to ponder for my dear engineers, and they see to prove engineers even do have a sense of humor. So here we go. So moving to this from here, we want to share with you. This is something we've begun doing over the past few podcasts. This is called the 12th. And we want to get your take. So obviously, Damon, and I think you've shared a wealth of your heart, obviously intellectually, but especially going deep in your past. And so these are kind of light and fluffy, but maybe not so light and fluffy. So starts kind of the banal and moves down there. So we'll see. So 12 questions. Don't overthink it. Here we go. Number 1, peanut butter, creamy or crunchy?
Crunchy.
Always. Number 2, if you could be any Star Wars character, which one would you be?
Ooh. I'd have to go with Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. Yes, exactly. There you go. Number 3. What's your favorite desert island food?
Desert island.
Desert island food. If you were stuck on a desert island with one food, what would it be?
Pineapples.
You're going quite literal. Thank you very much. And practical. Good. Maybe make a raft out of them. Okay. So number 4. The professor.
The professor. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there you go. Beer or wine?
Oh, come on.
I know. I didn't say they were easy.
Beer.
Okay, which one? What kind?
Oh, it's a Belgian. It's a dark Belgian. You need a fork and a knife. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I'll take that. Very good. 5. What is your most memorable Christmas gift you received growing up?
Oh, I was 9 years old. I got a Honda MR50 motorbike, mini bike, my first one, in the dead winter, 12 inches of snow. Took it out anyway.
And how many hours later did you crash it?
Oh, it was very short, but then you learn how to fix it. Oh, that was the best Christmas ever.
And thus the engineer in you was born, perhaps. Right?
Easily. Combustion engine. That's right.
And I'm glad you didn't blow up. Okay. Number 6. What is your bucket list country or city?
Oh. Nairobi, Kenya.
Ooh, beautiful.
I've done 3 events for them, and I'm not getting anywhere near, and I love the people, and I'm just dying to get to Nairobi.
I love it. I love it. Number 7. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Flying.
Flying. Yeah, that's what most people say. It's a gift. And that's my argument.
You told me to think. You told me to think about it. If I think about it, I'll have a different answer.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, it's flying.
Yep. I'm
I trade all my American Airlines miles in for that.
Good luck, but it's coming. It's coming. On my prediction, heaven, we're going to fly, and I'm going to be able to knock people over like bowling pins, and they're all going to laugh. So that's my thoughts. So 8. Have you seen The Chosen?
Yes.
Impossible question. Favorite episode? Ooh, yeah.
Favorite episode? Oh, it was season 1. Nicodemus on the rooftop with Jesus. Oh, I still weep with that scene. When he just looked at him and he realized he was the Messiah, and he realized the dilemma was in Nicodemus on the rooftop with Jesus.
Fulfillment of desire.
Yes.
9. Besides your name and date, what do you want written on your tombstone?
He loved.
Perfect. 10. If you had to pick a favorite saint, maybe a stalker saint, who is it?
Oh, Saint Jose Maria Escrivá, and then John Paul II.
Beautiful. Okay, so you're sneaking the second one in there.
That's just look. I got 14. I could actually read you 14, so you're lucky. I only gave you 2. So
okay, this is gonna be heavy. Here we go. Number 11. If you had to be martyred, how would you like to go out?
Oh. How you talking about the actual torture or the speech I would give?
Well, I'm not talking about torturing us with your speech, but
yeah, no, it would be I want the last word of my mouth to be Jesus. Yeah, man, my pride wants it to be big in public, but my humility wants it to be private, and people don't find out till decades later. So I don't know. But
I'd say Jesus is a good way to go out. I'll take that.
Yeah.
12th one. Final question. Why be Catholic?
Why be Catholic? Once you realize that everything you desire is a relentless pursuit of what's good, what's true, and what's beautiful, the greatest deposit of that is in the Catholic Church. You can't help but come to it. It's not the people; you'll find them later. It's not the clergy; you'll endure them. It's the deposit of the goodness, truth, and beauty that God Himself placed there that will keep you in a lifetime of search.
This doesn't bottom out, folks. If you liked a smidge of what you've heard today, go deep. Don't just take our word for it. The church has a wealth of education that never runs dry. It's the well that satisfies.
And it's educare. It draws you out into the deep. It's educare. It's not just information. It's educare. You will be drawn out.
Led and drawn out, right? It's beautiful. Damon Owens, an honor, a privilege to have you here on the Redeemed Vision podcast. We are nearly out of time. For all those who are here or watching this, I encourage you, please, if anything has struck you, please check out Joyful Ever After. Check out the Epic Marriage Challenge. There's a wealth to go deep here. And I would even say, even if you're not married, there's going to be a wealth there, even of preparation, because the deep work that's needed, if you're thinking about that vocation, this is a way in which you can begin to have those false ideas, have the scales fall from your eyes. You can enter into the most intimate relationship as best as possible. And then in the process, and even afterwards in marriage, let grace take over. Amen. So Damon, an honor and a privilege to be with you. For all of us at the Redeemed Vision podcast and for Freedom Coaching, we're grateful that you're here with us. Please subscribe. If you like this, please share this everywhere you know. And if you feel that you'd like to support us financially, as I said, we have the Freedom Coaching Foundation, the 501c3 foundation. It makes it tax deductible. It can really benefit the work that we're doing here. And so, just like everything we say in all that we do, may everything we do give glory to the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, never shall be, world without end. Amen. Nothing is wasted. Everything is redeemable. Go live your life as the miracle that you are. God bless you. I'm Steve Pokorny, the founder of Freedom Coaching. Until next time, this has been the Redeemed Vision podcast. God bless.
The Redeemed Vision podcast is an outreach of Freedom Coaching. To learn more, check out freedom-coaching.net and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and MeWe.